K-pop demon hunters Haja Boy's breakfast meal and Huntrix meal have just dropped at McDonald's. They're calling this a battle for the fans. What do you say to that, Rumi?
It's not a battle. So glad the Saja boys could take breakfast and give our meal the rest of the day.
It is an honor to share.
No, it's our honor.
It is our larger honor.
No, really. Stop.
You can really feel the respect in this battle. Pick a meal to pick a side.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. At participating McDonald's while supplies last.
This episode is brought to you by Ferrero. Soccer's biggest stage is approaching, and Ferrero is making it easy to go all in. Pick any two Ferrero brands from Kinder Bueno to Ferrero Rocher, and you could win the $1 million grand prize, plus an exciting range of daily and weekly prizes. Don't miss your shot. Official rules apply. Learn more at goallinandwin.com.
This episode is brought to you by Redfin. You're listening to a podcast, which means you're probably multitasking. Maybe even scrolling home listings on Redfin, saving homes without expecting to get them. But Redfin isn't just built for endless browsing. It's built to help you find and own a home. With agents who close twice as many deals, when you find the one, you've got a real shot at getting it. Get started at redfin.com. Own the dream.
100 Welcome to 100 Songs That Define Heavy Metal. I'm your host, Brian Slagel. I am the CEO from Metal Blade Records. If you need more information on that, go to metalblade.com. The next time you're in Las Vegas, or if you currently live in Las Vegas or the Las Vegas area, you need to visit the Metal Blade Museum. Now, not only are there artifacts from Metal Blade artists like Metallica, Slayer, Cannibal Corpse, Gwar, Lizzie Borden, there's also artifacts from bands that we had something to do with as well, like Guns N' Roses, Megadeth, Alice in Chains, Deep Purple, Thin Lizzy, Alice Cooper, all sorts of stuff. So it's a really great metal museum. It's located right near the Strip in Las Vegas. Also, our retail store is also now in the museum. So you can go pick up your Metal Blade vinyl, CDs, collectibles, shirts, all sorts of cool stuff. Just go to metalblade.com/museum for all the details. So we're talking about the legendary band Slipknot. As I will say many times throughout this podcast, we cannot talk about 100 songs to define heavy metal without talking about Slipknot, because they were an integral band that came in kind of after the whole new metal thing. They get cropped into that sometimes, which I don't really think that they're really part of that. You know, when they came out in 1999, metal had been dead for a long time in the 90s, and all of a sudden all these new cool bands were coming out, and this band was definitely one of them. Very heavy, very different. The amazing stage presence and stage shows that they had. A lot of fun. So going to be a really good one. We get to talk to my old friend, Mr. Ross Robinson, who produced this record, and that's going to be a really great conversation. And also a great conversation with my good friend, Zach, from The Ghost Inside, a great, phenomenal band and really good guy this is his favorite band and I think his favorite song too. So that'll be a lot of fun. But as always, we begin with our friend who's written hundreds, well, not quite hundreds, but a lot of books about hard rock and heavy metal, Mr. Martin Popoff.
All right, Brian. Yeah, excellent choice. Slipknot Surfacing, exciting band. I remember living through this with Brave Words and Bloody Knuckles, meeting these guys, interviewing them. They dominated the 2000s the way Pantera kind of dominated the 90s. They were a big deal. It was an exciting, very chaotic, interesting situation. So the debut album, self-titled on Roadrunner, June 29th, 1999. Ross Robinson producing, and, listening to this again, obviously, they're part of this whole new metal discussion, but it's almost like they are the hardcore version of new metal, the way Oi and UK hardcore and New York hardcore and LA hardcore were the more virulent form of punk kind of thing. And you can hear it all over this song. I mean, this album, it starts with SIC. Again, new metal, you get the breakdowns, you get the extreme bass sound, Ross Robinson doing all his great tricks. But this track, 338, fast, repetitive, almost industrial sort of guitar loop to open. And you hear Ross Robinson just throwing everything in the kitchen sink to this. You get a crazy, crazy Joey Jordison, may he rest in peace, 4 on the floor beat, very frantic drumming. But yeah, percussion. You get to hear, the Sid turntable stuff, but you also get to hear Clown and all his percussion. And then Joey Jordison, what a brilliant drummer he is here as well. And Corey's vocals, you get, again, all of the new metal tricks. You get the hardcore screaming here. You get the anthemic epic chorus, but you also get the sort of messed up emo Jonathan Davis type voice in here as well. And they were greatly rewarded for coming up with this great image with the masks and everything. Very scary, dangerous stage show. First time I saw them, I suppose this was the first time, but yeah, it was the Warehouse in Toronto, which is a large sort of soulless concrete club that no longer exists. But yeah, what an onslaught that show is. And then, of course, they are rewarded for this whole thing. This record goes 3 times platinum, then they get a platinum, and a platinum. And those sales are lower because they kept pushing the envelope in terms of production and intensity and just not being commercial, which is kind of cool. And then they get a gold, and the live album is also gold. So yeah, big band. We have lost Paul Gray and Joey Jordison. The rest of the guys, I guess they're all still around in their mid-50s kind of thing. But yeah, great choice. Super important band for heavy metal of this next phase in the 2000s. Getting in there with these albums smartly or luckily, whatever you want to call it, before the demise of physical products. So the business is still huge at this time, and they sell a lot of records. So yeah, great one. Absolutely.
Thanks, Martin. Always love to hear his perspective on things. He always breaks things down very interestingly. And he's pretty much right on about everything that he talked about. So always good to hear from Martin.
Pros, just because something on the job runs out doesn't mean you have to. Order it on the Lowe's app. My Lowe's Pro Rewards members get free same-day delivery on eligible orders over $25. Get the fasteners, hardware, or tools you need to keep the job moving. Order by 2 p.m. and get eligible in-stock items delivered right to your job site by 8 p.m. Members get more at Lowe's. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. Subject to availability. Restrictions and terms at lowes.com/shipping terms. Subject to change.
Ever feel like your brain just won't click? Onnit Alpha Brain is a daily supplement engineered to support memory, focus, and mental speed. Made with science-backed ingredients, Onnit Alpha Brain helps you lock in, tune out distractions, and stay sharp. See what your brain can really do. Visit onnit.com and shop Alpha Brain to unlock your next level. That's ONNIT.com.
Chronic migraine, 15 or more headache days a month, each lasting 4 hours or more, can make me feel like a spectator in my own life.
Botox, onabotulinum toxin A, prevents headaches in adults with chronic migraine. It's not for those with 14 or fewer headache days a month. It's the #1 prescribed branded chronic migraine preventive treatment.
Prescription Botox is injected by your doctor. Effects of Botox may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away, as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness can be signs of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Side effects may include allergic reactions, neck and injection site pain, fatigue, and headache. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Don't receive Botox if there's a skin infection. Tell your doctor your medical history, muscle or nerve conditions, including ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects.
Why wait? Ask your doctor, visit BotoxChronicMigraine.com, or call 1-800-44-BOTOX to learn more.
Always great to welcome in legends. I got to read. So this man's produced and worked with the following bands. And I'm not even going to name all of them because we'll be here for half an hour. Fear Factory, Wasp, Korn, Deftones, Sepultura, Limp Bizkit, Soulfly, Slipknot, which we're going to talk about momentarily, At the Drive-In. I mean, it's just on and on and on. It's just a million bands. Anyway, the great Ross Robinson. How are you, sir?
I'm very good. It's so good to do this with you, Brian. You're a huge part of my whole world as far as getting into the industry and everything.
Yes, Ross started out on Metal Blade with a band called Détente that signed to Roadrunner.
Yeah.
And we were doing the North American versions of Roadrunner, so we got to work together very early on, and you went on to have an unreal career. That's very impressive, my friend.
I remember you took us out to dinner to Michelli's on Las Palmas.
Yep.
and we paid for it. And you're like, this is so weird. Nobody's ever paid for my meal before.
That is very true. I remember that. And I was stunned. I'm like, wait, that's not the way this is supposed to work. Like the record company's supposed to pay.
You know, it's funny. I've had meals with, you know, whoever is famous or even billionaires, and I always try to buy the food first without them knowing, because it started a trend.
I do the same thing. I usually try to slip out, because otherwise we're all arguing over who's going to pay for the bill. So I'll just I'll grab it real quick.
Let's do it.
Awesome. So we're talking about Slipknot. This is the very first album we're talking about. So where and how did you first encounter Slipknot?
I got a demo from my manager. I wasn't so stoked on the demo, but the person that was managing them, Sophia, she worked at a local radio station, and she only had one phone number to one guy on planet Earth that had any kind of connection to the industry, and it was my manager. And I'm so into the woo-woo, you know, like music is invisible. It's a life form. And so whenever I get these woo-woo hits, I know to jump. It's like the flag, the sign, you know. And of course, I went in there, and they played a show, and we went out there, and I drove up to the band house. I guess Clown lived there, and they played in the basement, but they were all like waiting in the cold on the porch. As we drove up, they all ran away and went into the basement, like full hurry. And we went in there and said, hey, what's up, and all that stuff. And they're like, okay, we're going to play something. And I remember Joey started the count off to the first, you know, could have been sick, probably. He's like, and his stick fell. And he's like, oh. He was shaking and trying to grab the stick. And then he went, and then they fucking slammed. And then I was like, oh, man, it's such a bummer that they wear masks, because freaking they're so animated in their faces. It's so real and intense. And especially Corey, it was just like he was a freaking maniac in his face. Yeah, it was a real shocker to see them top it with masks that night.
I think, though, what's interesting about them is that, you know, the live performances are so amazing. And it's interesting that you say that, you know, you're seeing the facial expressions when they're playing live, and you get to see that live. But I think that they do encompass a lot of that energy, even with the masks on, because it's so incredible. So when you're sitting there watching the rehearsal, does it click in your head like, oh, this is really good?
Well, it's that undeniable, insane level of the special ones. That talent of the special ones. And I know you've witnessed this with so many in the beginning. You know what I'm talking about. When you see a special one, it's fucking special. And
yes.
And my sure go-to besides the woo-woo thing is if I start laughing.
Okay.
It's like, what the fuck? Because it's so funny, you know. It's like violence.
I don't know if I'm a band rehearsing for you. I don't know. I don't want to see you laughing.
Oh man, you would want to see me laughing, because it's pure joy coming through me, you know.
Awesome. Yeah, I totally get it. I tend to smirk sometimes too when you see stuff. So let's go back a little bit further. So obviously you're in detente, you're a musician. How did you graduate from being a guy in a band to basically becoming a producer?
Back home in Barstow, I had a 4-track cassette player, and I just kind of learned how to work that pretty well on my own, just as a kid guitar player. And then when Detente was doing demos, I was the one that got on the tape machine, and you know, I was kind of the producer-ish-ing. You know, I kind of knew what to do, you know, automatically. You know, I started working for Dana Strum. You know, he was the girl who lived next door to me's boyfriend, and he would stay over there, and he kind of took me under his wing, and I would work for free and grab Slurpees and get to watch him make records and get to watch old school dudes in their thing. You know, I've seen people clean up freaking Rod Stewart's throw up out of the freaking trash can next to the vocal booth, you know? Like really cool old school stuff, learning how to cut tape.
That's amazing.
Yeah, man. Like being in that environment, like was home more so than in the
That
band.
makes sense. So we're talking about surfacing today, and it's interesting because obviously I want to talk about Slipknot on this podcast because I can't have a podcast called 100 Songs That Define Heavy Metal without talking about Slipknot. So my buddy Zach from The Ghost Inside, perfect, Slipknot's his favorite band, and I go, what song do you want to talk about? And he said Surfacing. Oh, really? I kind of thinking maybe Wait and Bleed or something, but I went on, and because I'm not, full transparency here, I'm not a massive Slipknot fan in terms of like listening to music all the time. I've seen them live, and they're incredible live, and I love the records. I love what they've done, and they're great people and all of that good stuff. But I went and looked at I think it was Kerrang and Loudwire, and both of them had this either the number one all-time Slipknot song or number two. So I went back and listened to it, and it's been a minute since I listened to it. I get it now. This is really interesting. But it wasn't like a big hit for them, but it resonated with so many people. Why do you feel that is?
Well,
aside from the amazing production.
Well, it kind of goes hand in hand in that the riffs, the beat, the low end, the vocal, like all of that they're so visceral, so guttural, everything is just so dynamic. The dynamics are insane. And what you get to do when that song is just from the beginning, it's a journey.
Yes.
Where you feel a vibe. And also I'm totally allergic to click tracks.
Good.
So we captured that fucking shit raw, all the way raw, so guttural, so raw. And then we do this thing where I do like a mental surgery about the meaning of the song before we start it. And we get super freaking full on where people share what it means to them. So what happens is each instrument isn't the instrument, it's a voice. So when everybody's pulsing with the same thought and the same intention, I like to say, when you see a lady with a baby carriage and they're about to cross the street, your heart rate's just kind of, oh, that's nice, and then a car's coming to take out both of them. And your heart rate goes, no, you feel that in the very beginning, like Sid's DJ thing, that jungle beat. So Joey's heartbeat started going go, 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 and the tempo is going like go, 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 and Sid had to follow the tempo with the jungle beat until it was going so fast, and then it slams into the beat. It's just like fuck, and I'm always after. I have this crazy competitive thing with live show versions of the band. Like, so if I see a band play a song that we recorded live and they do it better, or there's like a more insane vocal or something about it, I get freaking crazy. So I never want the recording to be less fire than a live show at their most freaking insane hilt.
And that's hard to do because there's so many records by so many great bands that you go like, man, that record's really good, but it's so much better live. Yeah. And it is hard to sometimes capture that in a studio environment.
It is if you're into click tracks. Because it's untamable.
Even early days, stuff where there weren't as many click tracks. It's still an art to get the energy of a band live on a studio record.
Well, it depends. If you know what you're doing, like you got to get the dudes out of their head.
Yeah,
they have to be there for a whole other purpose than to look good and to be perfect, to be in tune and to be on time. Like fuck all of that, like. What would you rather listen to, like a warped cassette of something that's so slamming and badass, or a perfect take of a produced CD or whatever waveform? Just nobody cares about perfection, and that's the thing that that I love about the way we did things is it'll stand the test of time, just like the 70s, you know, like that music just never dies because everything is real.
Yep, exactly.
You know? Just real.
100%. I've said that a million times because I go back. I mean, I grew up in the 70s and I love the production of the 70s because everything on there is an actual sound. There's no fake sounds. There's none of that there. So
yeah.
And you could tell moving forward when bands do that, it's like, okay, this is the actual band playing actual instruments and not, you know, tapes or any of that other garbage.
It's funny. I'll get demos and you know, it's like that new metal EDM stuff that we hear so much of.
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay, well, what do they sound like? I have no idea.
Right.
Like, it doesn't mean anything if it's just EDM, you know? It might as well be AI, which luckily, you know, we're seeing people are becoming allergic to as well.
Thank goodness. Yeah, I had a conversation with a band recently about that, where I didn't realize that this thing was happening, but you know, just really quickly, like people are generating AI stuff and then like naming their band similar to whatever the band was and posting it on streaming services. It's crazy. But anyway, that's a whole another long story.
Yeah.
So tell me how important Joey Jordison was to this record.
Oh, dude. Joey and I, it was like we were, for me as a producer and friend and, you know, at that moment, an extended member, you know, as a producer, and everything that he would say, everything he would do was almost as if I was saying it or I was doing it. We were like doppelgangers for each other. Like we were into the same things. We were into the same bands. We were into the same everything. It was freaking crazy. And we just basically totally fell in love with each other and trusted. The trust was totally there. So, you know, whenever there was a time to push or a time to pull, like there was a bond and a chemical sort of ESP thing going on, you know, and of course it's the drums, the heartbeat of the band, the fire of the band, like all of that stuff, man. And then Joey and I also mixed the record together. My engineer would set it up, and then Joey and I would be on the faders doing all the moves. And it took us a freaking month of misery.
That's for all you people, the old school people. That's the way we had to do it. Everyone had to man the faders, and there was no Pro Tools or any of that nonsense at that point.
Yeah, no automation. See, so I was running guitars, vocal, and bass, and he was running all the drums. So he was moving cymbals, kick drums, snares, hi-hat, like everything was just always moving and breathing. And we were playing that shit. Like all of that feeling that you're feeling in that mix, it may not be like, you know, the most sonically great thing on planet Earth or whatever, but you can't deny like what it does to you. Also too, it was just us. Nobody else knew about it. Nobody else wanted it. It was just us on our own island. Roadrunner was taking a freaking million years to finalize their contract. You know, I had a imprint. I actually signed the band through my imprint, and Monty oversaw it. But the thing about it was, like, I was financing the rehearsals, the food, the studio. I fronted everything myself. You know, and so it gave it a extra sense of hunger, you know, like we're gonna go all the way. We have nothing to lose. And, you know, at the time, the Nookie was the biggest thing in the world, and Got the Life. And those guys totally like pushed me out of their scene. And my reaction to it was Slipknot. And so there was a real full-blown extra fire behind everything that was happening in there.
So you clearly really believed in these guys if you're fronting everything on your own.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Just like you do, you know?
Yeah.
Like we go all the way, man. Especially when you fall in love with dudes, you know, it's just like, oh my God. I don't ever want them to go a day hungry.
Right,
I want
yeah.
everything for them, and I'm going to do everything I can to give them the best chance.
That's amazing. So I always love to ask this because I've been in these situations too. So I always love to ask when people are actually in making the record. So while you're making the record, clearly it's a debut album. You know, nobody really has ever heard this band before. Nobody knows what to expect. But while you're making the record, did you guys all feel that something special was going on while you were recording it?
It was hours for us to love and enjoy. That was it. We had no expectations of anything outside of, we were isolated in Malibu up on that mountain. There were no people there partying. There was no like outside anything, just these kids from freaking Iowa and me, you know? So we were slamming it as hard as we possibly could, just unleashing freaking fire, dude, like all the way. And that's all we had is what we were giving, you know, not what we were expecting to happen. We had no idea. None.
Yeah.
None.
That's always the innocent part of that. I always love because you're in there just making music to make music that you guys all love. And there's no pressure. There's no nothing. And I remember a long time ago, I was hanging out with Axel at the Cat House, and this is after Appetite. And we would just talk about, you know, because we all like the same music and Thin Lizzy and stuff. But I remember one night he was like, oh, man, I just don't know what to do. Like, you know, making this record, I'm really frustrated with everything. It's like really having a tough time. I go, I don't know if you can do this, but just go back to when you're making Appetite. Like nobody cares. You haven't sold one single record. Nobody knows who you are. Go back to that version of the band and try to make a record from that perspective. Whether or not he used that for his own thing or not, I mean, I think those records came out pretty good. But there is a lot to the innocence of that where there's just, you don't know, like, you know, when we were making the first Slayer record, like, I don't know, this band's really good and they're a lot of fun, but who knows, you know, what's going to happen. And that innocence of just doing it for the music and loving it is a real special thing.
There's nothing better, like nothing. It's where I think fear happens when we're expecting.
Yeah.
Fear meaning the brain gets in the way and tries to put it into a mathematical equation where, dude, freaking Slayer, can you imagine?
Yeah. It was insane, trust me. But you went on to produce other Slipknot records. So was it more difficult to do those because there were expectations after the first record came out?
Well, it was until I broke my back during drums. We just got through all the songs. We were doing kind of drum fixes here and there. And I was racing dirt bikes and stuff, and we took our first day off. And I freaking went over the bars over a 75-foot jump and landed on my freaking head and broke the freaking lower spine. And I took one day off and then showed up to the studio the day after that. And you know, they were starting to get money. They had money and they were kind of like going to the Rainbow and, you know, all this crazy shit. You know, they were like experiencing the thing, you know. And when they saw me sweating in pain, showing up every day on time, everybody just showed up.
Right in line.
Yeah, they were like, I think Paul said this. He was like, this is the greatest thing that ever happened to us. I'm like fucking dying.
Sorry I had to break your back for that, but I guess it worked out in the end.
Worth it. Just one thing about the back is there hasn't been a single day where I haven't felt that injury since Iowa. And I get to remember that record. And it's kind of cool.
I guess you can look at it positively. That's a good attitude to have.
Have to.
That's amazing. So what are you working on now?
I have this label called Blowed Out Records with Bill Armstrong. Do you know him?
Yep.
Yeah, he just sold Side One Dummy, and so he started a label with Ghostmane.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's
cool.
Yeah.
It's called Blowed Out, and we signed this band XCOM. And this maintenance guy, like 2 doors down at this hotel from my house, said, hey, my niece is going out with this singer guy. Can I give you the demo? I'm like, fuck yeah. and I played it and it was cool. And then when I went to see him, it made me laugh. I was cracking up. And I was like, oh shit, I got to go to a rehearsal. And then I went to the rehearsal and freaking Scott Ian opens the door. I'm like, what? and it's this kid, plays drums in the band, and Rev. And I was kind of bummed out in the fact that, like, oh shit, man, there's a famous parent, it's like, that stigma that happens. And
I know it all too well. Yeah.
Oh, dude. And so that was a bummer, but the kid is so badass.
He's incredible.
So good.
Yeah.
And it's funny when we were doing pre-production or working on songs, writing or something, the mom or the dad would come in and if they said anything about the music, or if they were like kind of like in his space, he would give them the look and they would fucking bolt. The kid,
nice.
He wants nothing to do with like any kind of nepo anything. He's just a little strong-willed ripper. But the singer is really special. He has a thing, and a really good voice, and he's a great songwriter, and he's just a kid. Yeah, and so far so good. Things seem to be popping off pretty well.
Good, yeah. Next generation stuff. I love hearing that, and yeah, I've known that kid since he was a tiny little kid, and he's a talented dude for sure. Big time.
Yeah.
I mean, coming from the parents he should be, but still, you never know, right?
Yeah. It's so cool, man. I just love how his do right inside of him is so intact. Like he's a righteous kid. And all of them are just as talented. It's really, really amazing that they found each other.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love hearing those stories. Well, dude, thank you so much for doing this. This was incredible. I really appreciate it.
Oh, hell yeah.
Awesome, man.
Thanks for calling me up, man. I appreciate you a lot.
Yeah, same here, man. Well, I figured I'm talking Slipknot. I might as well reach out to Ross as he was in the studio. So why not? And also get a chance to catch up with you a bit too, which is always fun. So
hell yeah, man.
Hey everyone, Brian Slagel here, founder of Metal Blade Records. I spent my whole entire life trying to make metal history and make metal better and promote metal as much as I can. And now there's a brand new way for you to test your metal knowledge and relive those iconic moments. It's called Metal Mondays, the official metal trivia game from Metal Blade and Pantheon Media, and it's free to play right now. Every Monday, a new game drops. From Slayer, Supremacy to Death, Metal 101, 80s, Metal Blade Classics, and tons more. You'll battle it out on the leaderboards, win killer prizes, and even score some exclusive Metal Blade merch. So if you think you know your riffs, your legends, and your deep cuts, prove it. Download, hit replay on the App Store or Google Play, or head to metalbladerecords.com/Metal Mondays and start playing today. Because in metal, there's no off days. Only Metal Mondays. Metal Mondays. Play loud, play true, and play to win.
All right. This episode is brought to you by Fandango. People say fans are too distracted these days. But the truth is, when a great movie hits the screen, you show up. You stay glued, invested, part of the story. And without fans like you, there'd be no cinema magic, no shared moments. So head to Fandango.com to get tickets, stream, or rent or buy top movies and series. Fandango loves fans.
Protein is now at Starbucks, and it's never tasted so good. You can add protein cold foam to your favorite drink or try one of our new protein lattes or matcha. Try it today at Starbucks.
Refreshing wild cherry cola meets smooth cream. The treat you deserve. Pepsi Wild Cherry and Cream. Treat yourself.
Here we are back at the Space here in beautiful Las Vegas. The Space is a great spot if you're doing a podcast like we are today. They have a nice little room, about 60 people if you want to do an intimate show or a comedy show or something. They have that. And they have the big room, which sits about 350, 400, depending on if there's chairs or not. Awesome room. Great people here. Please go to thespacelv.com. Get all the information. And if you're in Vegas, come to Monday's Dark too, every other Monday. Very important. Anyway, we welcome now the guitar player for an amazing band. He's also a tattoo artist.
Recently.
And his wife is a very famous tattoo artist. We'll mention her later. Anyway, from the Ghost Inside, Mr. Zach Johnson. How are you, sir?
I'm great. Thanks for having me. And it is good to be back at the space. We held an event here a few years back. We did a fan fest guitar clinic, and it's a really good spot. So thanks for having me. It's good to see you again.
So tell me about Slipknot. We haven't talked Slipknot yet on the podcast. Very important that we do. So I'm very happy that you mentioned you want to talk Slipknot because they're a very important band to the scene, obviously, and they need to be discussed in 100 Songs to Define Heavy Metal. And you mentioned the song Surfacing. And originally, like, I have to admit, I'm not the biggest Slipknot fan. I'm mass respect to them. I love Corey Taylor. He's a great dude and huge music fan. And those guys are awesome. They're incredible live as well. That song, I wasn't really that familiar with it. So I was kind of thinking, maybe Wait and Bleed or some of the bigger songs. But I went to do my research and noticed that both, I believe it was Kerrang and Loudwire, had this song either the first or second best Slipknot song of all time. So I'm like, well, if they're talking about this song being up there, then you are correct, sir. And this is a very important song. And then I went back and obviously listened to it. It's an interesting song because, Slipknot has their own, this is from the first record, by the way, too. Came out in 1999, as Martin Popoff mentioned earlier. Definitely a different type of song. Why did you pick this track?
So when you and I think we were at a Golden Knights game, we were talking about...
Shocking.
Yeah, we were talking about, a favorite heavy band across the board, and Slipknot came up. And then when you pinned it down to just pick one song, I was just kind of going through that record, and I was thinking more about what songs get me excited as a fan. And every time I see Slipknot live, when they... that song has so much anticipation. It's so intense. It's so aggressive. That's why I picked that song, just as a fan getting to watch that live.
Yeah, and it's interesting, too, because, the first record is a kind of a groundbreaking record, really, because it came out, like I said, in 1999, which is on the cusp of kind of when metal was just starting to come back. And, Slipknot falls into that weird category of kind of semi-new metal, but not really, and kind of real metal, but not really. They're really kind of their own category, which is what makes them unique. And this song is kind of every bit of that, because, interesting riffs, then real heavy parts. I love the vocals. Of course, Corey's just an incredible singer. I love the message in the lyrics. It's a really fascinating song. And I kind of was like, okay, now I can see going back this far why they're such a special band. And specifically, when this record came out, I remember everybody's freaking out about it. I was like, yeah, they're good, but
I was glad to hear you say that because I was second guessing why I picked that song. But I just was going through Slipknot songs that get me excited as if obviously Wait and Bleed would be an easy pick but I was just thinking back to over the last years getting to see them live and how many bad iPhone videos I probably have of that opening riff because it's so simple but it's so effective and it's just such an intense song live.
Yeah, and like I said, doing the research, I'm like, oh, okay, I see. The song that a lot of people go to, obviously, which is interesting because it's not a big hit. It's if you look at their top songs on Spotify, for example, I would say in the top 10, but it's 8 or 9, so it's not one of the big ones. But the big ones are the hit radio songs or whatever. So I tend to like the deeper tracks too, and I think those are more important. And again, Slipknot is kind of I remember when they came out, and it was kind of the turn of the century, turn of the decade, which always is interesting. Music changes, especially our world of heavy music changes every 10 years. You look at it from the 80s to the 90s changed. 90s to 2000 was a big change because as we know, metal in the 90s was kind of, a lot of people thought it was dead, but it wasn't really dead. It was just super underground. You had all the death metal scene going on and the other stuff. You had the new metal, which I don't know that I call that metal, but it is what it is.
I'll leave that up to you.
Yeah, it is what it is. And please don't put Korn as new metal. Korn is not new metal. They're amazing. But, Slipknot comes out. We could kind of in the metal world feel the transition happening. You had right after that, you had the whole metalcore scene kind of coming out. And that's what really changed a lot of stuff in my world when all of a sudden, all these bands start coming out and doing something a little bit different with the whole hardcore meets metal thing. And they were also always talking about, who they listened to and what they liked. So, the classic metal bands were brought up a lot. And that's what Slipknot did a lot too. I mean, Corey Taylor, like I said, all those guys, Mick, they're all huge old school metal guys. Like Mick, for example, is a huge fan of Fate's Warning of all things, which you wouldn't think the guy in Slipknot's a Fate's Warning fan, but he is a huge fan. So, and they were kind of talking about that too. So it felt for us okay, here we go. Here's this really cool new heavy band doing something really different. And then everything obviously came after that. So when you first heard this record, what were you thinking?
I was pretty young when this first record came out, so it was very different. It was very aggressive. It was in your face, and like that's something that drew me towards it, especially back then, because I got into this kind of music through like punk first. So Slipknot was one of the first like heavy bands, traditional heavy bands.
Yeah.
I loved, I have like grown over time with Slipknot too, because I didn't get to see them like I get to see them now back then. Now that I'm older, we started playing around Slipknot, in like 2013 probably. So my fandom for Slipknot has continually grown over time.
You can't talk about Slipknot without talking about the show. It's like, they talk about Rammstein, you can't talk about them without talking about the show. And their show was always just so over the top, especially the early days, like the energy those guys had on stage. There were 9 of them running around, freaking out. They're like diving off of platforms and doing all these backflips. It was like, metal gymnastics half the time watching them. It was really fascinating. They're doing something that was so different too, with all the different, pounding on metal barrels and all this different percussive stuff. And, they had a DJ up there. I was like, wow, there's a lot going on here.
Classic Keg. And they've kind of like returned to that last year. They went back to the jumpsuits. Like last summer, I saw them probably 5 times, and their like production was a little more scaled back than normal. But God, they had so much fucking intensity, and like the band all looked so good on stage, and they sounded incredible, and it felt like that early energy that they brought back.
Yeah, that's totally what blew me away when I first saw them. Like I said, I got the record. I was like, okay, this is cool. It's definitely different. And, trying to kind of figure it out in my brain what I'm thinking of it. But then seeing it live is like, oh, okay, I just thought it was just nuts. These guys are completely insane.
And whatever they're doing is working, because they all look great up there. They sound great. They're like moving around great. Like it's inspiring to see, And
it's interesting because, the first time I saw them, I'm just like, whoa, what the heck is going on here? And the other thing that, seeing them 4 or 5 times, down the road over the next couple of years, it's interesting because it's complete chaos on stage, basically. And it's amazing but there's like a rhythm to the chaos up there. Like you don't see, like guys aren't usually falling over themselves they're falling all over the place, but it's not like somebody's running into each other, because it just seems like it's, I guess, controlled chaos maybe is probably the best way to describe it.
They're the masters of controlled chaos. We're a band with 4 guys on the front of the stage, and we trip over each other. So watching them do it is like, it's perfect.
The other thing that's interesting about Slipknot is because they can kind of tour with a lot of different bands, which is interesting, because they've had a whole bunch of different openers. And they did one tour. Like one of my favorite bands of all time is Coheed and Cambria.
Yep.
Love those guys. Love that band. One of my favorite bands of all time. And I'll never forget, I saw them open for Slipknot. They played out in Ontario, California, at the Ontario Arena out there. And Coheed was, of course, amazing. And they got a pretty good response, which is cool. But that Slipknot show for me was probably the best I've ever seen them. It was just, audience was completely insane. It was like, I don't know, 8,000 or 9,000 people, whatever was there. Completely insane. The band was really into it. It was one of those shows where, you've probably felt this being on stage, where like the crowd and the band are kind of completely in sync.
Yep.
And there's a great energy going on between them. And that show was that way. Like the crowd was so into it. You could tell the band was loving it. And that show, I walked away going, wow. And for me, loving Coheed the way I do, I was like, wow, you got to do a lot for me to go like, oh, that was pretty insane after seeing them play.
Yeah. No, I get that. And, over the last few years, we've been able to do some European festivals with Slipknot, and God, getting to see them play to, 40 to 70,000 Germans with that kind of atmosphere is like, it's perfection, especially like this song in particular. When you hear that opening riff and you see like a hazy crowd, as far as you can see a hazy crowd and anticipation building, like it looks like watching a horror movie, and it's fucking incredible.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I'm going to be at some point I have a busy weekend this weekend, but at some point I'm going to be going to YouTube and watching live versions of the song for probably an hour or something.
Yeah, you should.
I will. No, I love going back and doing those deep dives of stuff I haven't seen for a while and going, oh, wow. Because again, the live thing with them is just so much different than the studio stuff is really great, but the live thing is just so interesting. This song I'm sure is going to be nuts. So thanks a lot. You've just wasted an hour and a half of my time now.
Yeah, of course. Happy to. Anytime.
So Slipknot fan all along, like all the records, or is it just the first one and you kind of wave it away?
I'm a fan the whole time? All their records. Yeah. When you were saying pick one song, I
know it's always hard. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I based it fully just off of selfish fandom. And, for me, I'm like a live person. Like my wife will show me bands and I'll be like, I don't know if I'm quite into that. And then I see them live and I'm like, massive fan, completely won over.
But you're in a band too. And I find that is a difficult process to have your fandom, but then you're in a band, especially when you're in a band now and you hear newer bands. It's like, you don't want to listen to it too much because it might infringe on your songwriting or what you guys are doing. Or it's also as a competitor. When you're listening to music now of newer bands, like, what do you look out for?
It is hard to not be judgmental or think of people as competition.
That's what I'm saying. Well, you're not the only one. It's kind of everybody.
But there's so many newer bands like compared to us that have had like huge success, and I've never found myself being jealous. I try to like see what we can learn from them. But we listen to a lot of new music, and sometimes it doesn't fully connect as a fan till I can see them do it live and feel it out live. Like a band that we all collectively as a group like a lot is Alpha Wolf. And have you listened to them?
No, I know the name though.
They're an incredible newer. I mean, they've been around for years, but like they're a really
There's
really
so
heavy
many
band.
by the way.
Yeah, well, exactly. It's hard to keep up, but yeah, seeing bands live like is for sure what pushes me just past the line of going from like I like this, like I could be a fan to like I'm a fan, I'm all in. You know what I mean?
You guys just did a really interesting tour with my friends in Volbeat, which I was like, oh, that's really cool. First of all, because I get to see you guys and Volbeat the same night, which is a lot of fun because we are doing Michael from Volbeat's side project called Acid Hail. It's a death metal band. Yeah. And we did one record. It did really well, thank God, because I was very nervous about that. Did really well, and we're doing record number 2 now. So
sweet.
So that was fun. That was a really fun night because it was in Dallas, and I love going to shows in Dallas because there's no one ever backstage.
Yeah.
Ever. So just you and the band can just kind of hang for a while. You came and hung for a little bit too. We were just back there with, Michael had his family with him. So he wasn't there much, but the other guys, we were just all talking music until like 3 a.m. or something.
Yeah, it was great. We love that tour. If you want to take us to Europe, we're all in.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, we didn't know what to expect with that tour either. Like, we got the offer, and we knew that the Volbeat guys were all like big metal guys, and we were all like pretty familiar with their band. But that tour ended up being really good for us. They're such good guys and good hangs, and the shows were incredible, and their fan base is super welcoming and open. Like, we would see it first song or two, like unsure about these guys. Song 2 or 3 starting to move. Then towards the end, some body banging kind of stuff. So that tour was really good for us. Hailstorm was awesome to tour with too. And they were people kind of look and are like, wait, those are who you ended up being like best friends with out of the tour. And like, they're just such a good group of people, and they fucking rock. And we have become like great friends with them too.
Interesting you mentioned them because it's like so many of the things we've talked about today are upcoming on podcasts. I'm going to just shamefully plug them now. Doing one with Gloria Butler, who if you hear her last name, you probably know who her husband is. He's a very famous rock star, one of the biggest, most famous rock stars of all time. But anyway, talking to her about, we're talking about obviously a Black Sabbath song, but she really wants to talk about Lizzie Hale. And we're kind of going back and forth. Like, should we do a Hailstorm song or not? I said, well, let's do Sabbath because that's kind of what expected to do, right? But we'll talk about her too. And a lot of people really, I can't say that I'm a massive Hailstorm fan, but a massive respect for what they do. And Gloria's like, I want to talk about why isn't Lizzie Hale bigger? Like, why isn't she bigger? And they're getting pretty big.
I mean, yeah, they're a big band.
They're pretty big, yeah. So we'll talk about her a little bit more because it's always the case. Like, women, it's difficult in this world for them, whether they're fronting a band or even just in the business side of things like Metal Blade. I think most of the people running Metal Blade are all women, so I like that because they do a good job. But it is difficult. It's difficult to be a female fronted. We've dealt with that over the years of a lot of bands that we work with too. So it's interesting how she's done it. And one of the biggest Hailstorm fans and fans of her that I know is no one would ever expect it. Kerry King.
Really?
Kerry King thinks they're amazing.
I mean, they rock. She has a fucking voice on her. She rips on guitar. I saw them in December, actually. We were over in the UK and they were doing OVO Arena on their headliner, and we went out to the show, watched their show again. We got to see like them with a full production because obviously on Volbeat they were more scaled back for what they were doing. But this started off the Volbeat thing, and that tour was awesome. Volbeat were awesome.
Yeah, it was a great package.
Hailstorm kicked ass, and we, keep in touch with them. I follow some of the Volbeat guys on Instagram, but I don't know if they fully know how to use Instagram.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's probably true. A lot of those guys. I don't know if it's them doing it or it's someone else doing it. Who knows?
Yeah. Well,
especially the Europeans, by the way.
Yeah. Which they were incredible Europeans. They were the best kind. I think night one, their drummer and guitar tech knocked on our door, and I opened it and they just walked in, brought us the biggest bottle of Jameson I've ever seen. I didn't even think about it. I look back and our drummer is naked. He just barely has a towel wrapped around, but
it's not like they haven't seen that before.
No, they were just like, yes, welcome to the tour. Have fun. Nice. Yeah, it was
a lot of my family is Danish, so I always have a place in my heart for all the Danish rockers, and we deal with a lot of them. So good people. We can't not talk about hockey because, of course, I'm a massive hockey fan, as are you.
Yeah.
Where did that come from? Where did your love from hockey come from?
So also hockey, Iowa love. I grew up in Iowa.
Oh, and that's why you're talking about Slipknot.
It's part of it, yeah. Got the Iowa pride. I started playing hockey when I was 3.
Oh, wow.
Iowa, cold, flat.
Yeah.
Not a lot going on.
Yeah.
I use Slipknot as a reference when mostly Europeans are like, so you're not from California, where are you from? Iowa, it's in the center of the country. Chicago's near it. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, Slipknot? They're like, oh, yes, Des Moines, Iowa, 515. But yeah, I started playing hockey when I was a kid, 3 years old. Played all the way up until I was probably 18 or 19. That's when I started touring. And I kind of started playing again in Vegas recently over the last few years. Obviously had some injuries with our bus accident and took a while to put some skates back on. But yeah, been a fan of hockey ever since, and now that I live in a city with an NHL team, because I never had one growing up in Iowa, Yeah,
you had minor league. Yeah, the college team was pretty good there too.
Yeah, but we didn't have the Iowa Wild till pretty recently.
Wasn't there? I want to say that there was a minor league team up there.
There's still the Des Moines Buccaneers, the
USHL one. Yeah, I want to say because I was heavily involved with hockey, minor league hockey for a long time in the 2000s. And I'm trying to remember if there was a team there for a minute, but anyway. But I know the college team's been there forever, and they're actually pretty good.
Yeah. But that's what I grew up going to Bucks games.
Yep.
Never really was able to go to Chicago or Minnesota pro game until I started touring. But yeah, I've just always been just a hockey fan. And then we moved to Vegas, which was kind of nice because we have a really good team and a great arena for it. And, now I'm in a band with a Kings fan, so we can talk shit to each other about that.
All right. So are all the guys out here now?
Everyone but Chris.
Gotcha.
Yep, all 4 of us, and then Chris is still in Maryland.
And why the move to Vegas?
Our bass player was the first one to come here. His wife got a job out here a long time ago, and I think she had some family, but he came out here first, and then, Vigil came a few years after. Just California is expensive, and he wanted to try to buy a house.
And the traffic.
Yeah, traffic. I know. That's one of our biggest jokes. Anytime I get stuck behind a California car here, I send him a photo. I'm like, this is your fault. But yeah,
true.
Vigil was next. Then we came out here. We had Chelsea and I looked at houses in California, but it's so expensive. And then there's just so much opportunity out here. And for me, the weather was a big factor because I have so much metal in my body. I just can't do cold weather anymore.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Wow. Yeah. I didn't really think about that, but yeah, the weather. I mean, I love the heat. I love the dryness. I mean, I grew up in the Woodland Hills in Southern California, and our summers were 106 there. So people are like, what about the heat? I go, I grew up when it was 106, and we didn't even have air conditioning. We had a swamp cooler, so the heat doesn't bother me. I like the heat actually.
No, I love Vegas, but I've always loved coming to Vegas. So living here is great. There's so much going on. There's always friends in town. It's weird. It's all hours, like.
Well, I just like it because there's an entertainment people here too, which
Yeah.
a lot of other, really outside of LA, New York, and Nashville, there really isn't another city that has that. I spend a lot of time in Dallas and I like it there, but there's no entertainment. There's no bands. There's really nothing there. Where Vegas, you've got tons of bands living out here. There's tons of, there's shows, there's local shows. There's a whole entertainment thing here in Vegas, which is really cool. And people are so nice here. It's a bigger city, but it's still feels like a small town. I've never lived in a small town. It's either I've mainly lived in LA and I had an apartment in New York, so pretty much the biggest cities you could be in.
Yeah. I mean, we've lived here like 7 years now, and I mean, it is a very small, big town.
I love it though. I love that.
Yeah, I do too.
Like cheers, you walk into different places, like, hey, everybody knows, who you are.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. A couple things to wrap up. So we're going to talk about Violent Gentlemen, since we're both sporting Violent Gentlemen stuff. Now, how did you guys get involved with them first?
That was through Vigil in Southern California. Like he knew Hammer and Brian and those guys like earlier on, and had to be when they made their first like 2 or 3 shirts. We were getting ready for a tour because we always used to start tours out there. So he was like, my friends have a new company. I think they had been doing Revan before.
I'm not sure. For those of you who don't know, Violent Gentlemen is a clothing company started by George Peros, who's now the director of player safety for the NHL, so he's not involved any longer. And our friends Brian and Hammer, and they just started as like a really cool hockey clothing company, and super good guys. And they've just over the years started getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And they're just part of the thing. Why I love them is they're just such really great people, and all the people around them are really cool and interesting. So like all the collabs they've done have been really good. So anyway, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah. So we early on in their company,
so you were really early.
I mean, it had to have been their first like round of shirts. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because they didn't have like a storefront or operation fully going yet. So they gave us a bunch of stuff. We went with it and kind of watched them grow, and then we've done a few jersey collabs with them, and they do like the ultimate collabs with bands and companies. I don't think I've ever had so much like FOMO of a company, because it just looks so fun to work there and to be involved with that crew. So we're grateful for them, Yeah,
and they're still super excited. Like the other day, Hammer told me they're doing a collab with Slayer.
Oh, sweet.
That's awesome. He was like showing me some of the graphics and stuff. So it's funny because he showed me some of the graphics, which look amazing. And I sent them to Kerry. I said, "Have you seen these yet?" He's like, "No, but it looks great."
That's sick.
So he'll eventually get to it. But yeah, super good guys. And I think that's probably why I might have first heard about you guys was through them.
Oh, was it?
I think so. Yeah, because I got in fairly early with them. I don't remember exactly when it was. I think somebody, one of my buddies, Paul Conroy, who used to be a manager, used to manage Unearth and a whole bunch of bands, and now he's got his own company. He's dealing with a lot of stuff for Haley from Paramore. But anyway, he knew those guys, and he kind of connected me with them pretty early on. So
I feel like I've always seen you repping the VG too.
It wasn't there as early as you guys were, but probably not too long after that. So
okay, cool.
Because I had mentioned you guys did something with them. Oh, that looks cool. It's a cool name. And I went, oh, this band's really awesome.
Oh, sweet. I'll take it.
Yeah.
And I think actually we're about to go to the first place I met you, and I think you were wearing VG that night.
Probably
because I think we first bumped into each other at
a Silver Knights game.
Silver Knights game. Yeah.
I think you're right about that. Yeah. We're after this podcast, we're of course going to a hockey game. What a surprising shock that is. I know people can't understand that, but yeah. I think you're right. It definitely was a hockey game, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was a Silver Knights game.
I think you're right.
I recognize this guy. I know we got a bunch of mutual friends.
Yeah, you're right. It was definitely. I remember now. It was definitely Silver Knights. Well, that's funny. Well, here we are again.
Well, thanks VG.
Yeah, exactly. They bring people together.
They do.
Yeah, they're good. They're really, really good folks. So what's next for you guys in Ghost Inside?
We're working on new music. I think our next show we play is Sonic Temple. Temple. We've got a few of the Warped Tour dates coming up too.
Is there any warm-up shows before that, or are you just going right into the big one?
We're going right into it.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
We did that last year too. That's how it felt too.
Yeah.
Last year we had the first like half of the year off, and then we went right into Rock am Ring, Rock am Park, all the big boys. So we'll get some rehearsals in.
Nice.
Yeah, we got that, and then we're doing the later summer festivals in Europe. We've got a few things that'll get announced soon that I'm excited about, and then hopefully, we're gonna get a record done this year too.
Oh, good. That would be nice. When was the last record you guys put out? It's been a minute, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. It came out in 2024.
Yeah. Not too far.
Yeah, we're not too far, but we're due.
Yeah. I have ever really since the pandemic. I have no recollection of time. Like, when did something come out? Like 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago?
Neither do we. We all got to. It takes all five of us to figure out when something was. But yeah, it actually record dropped, and we started the tour at home in Las Vegas, which was nice.
So when people come to Las Vegas, you want to do a lot of things. You want to see concerts, you want to see shows, you want to go to restaurants, and if you want to get a tattoo, where should they go?
Come see me at Neo Tokyo. I'm apprenticing right now, but I'm starting to do bigger tattoos now. My wife removes and does permanent makeup at Bad Apple Tattoo.
And she's got a big internet following over there, too.
She sure does. Bigger than mine.
I know. I noticed. I should have her on this one instead of you. Come on.
You should, yeah.
Where should people go to find her on social media?
At Chelsea Mac or Bad Apple Tattoo. Also,
and then where should they go to find you?
At Neo Tokyo or Zach J. Johnson.
And the Ghost Inside.
And the Ghost Inside, yeah.
Where do they go to find the Ghost Inside? Is it just the Ghost Inside?
Just at the Ghost Inside.
Oh, you guys were able to get that. All right, good.
We did. It took a while, yeah.
All right, good. Yeah, it's not easy. I got lucky. I got in early, so I think everything but my TikTok, I just scroll TikTok. I don't really post anything on there.
Gotcha, yeah.
A lot of fun. Any last thoughts on Slipknot before we get out of here?
No, other than when they're back to touring, we'd love to come, or I will.
I don't know if I'm breaking news here, but I know they're making a record, which I think I'm not breaking any news. If I am, sorry, but they're in the studio making a record, and then there will be a tour after that. So.
Awesome. Can't wait to hear and see
hopefully with Ghost Inside on it.
Yeah, would love that.
All right, thanks, dude. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, that'll do it. That was a fun one. Great talking to my buddy Zach from the Ghost Inside. Super good guy. And if you're unfamiliar with that band, the Ghost Inside, please check them out. They're a really, really great band. Again, great catching up with my old friend, Mr. Ross Robinson. That was a lot of fun. And he had some amazing insights into making this record. And it was so much fun hearing from him. And Martin Popoff, as always. Got to thank Lizzie Borden for our theme song and the producer, Mr. Christian Blatt, who runs the whole show here. Thanks for everything. We'll see you guys next episode.
100!
Think Verizon is expensive? Think again. Anyone can bring their AT&T or T-Mobile bill to a Verizon store today and we'll give you a better deal. So bring us your bill. Walk in, run in, pogo stick in, teleport if you can. Ride on the back of a rollerblading yak or fly in on the wings of a majestic falcon. Any way you can, bring your AT&T or T-Mobile bill to a Verizon store today and we'll give you a better deal on the best network. Based on RootMetrics Best Overall Mobile Network Performance, U.S. Second Half 2025. All rights reserved. Must provide very recent postpaid consumer mobile bill in the name of the person redeeming the deal. Additional terms, conditions, and restrictions apply.
How many discounts does USAA Auto Insurance offer? Too many to say here. Multi-vehicle discount, safe driver discount, new vehicle discount, storage discount, legacy.
How many discounts will you stack up? Tap the banner or visit USAA.com/auto discounts. Restrictions apply.
Where's your playlist taking you? Down the highway? To the mountains? Or just into daydream mode while you're stuck in traffic? With over 4,000 hotels worldwide, Best Western is there to help you make the most of your getaway, wherever that is. Because the only thing better than a great playlist is a great trip. Life's the trip. Make the most of it at Best Western. Book direct and save at bestwestern.com.